pass protection skills are kind of limited. He's not a great natural athlete. What really got him drafted was the fact that he had an outstanding snowball, and then he went to the combine and did 36 reps. Tested out as the strongest player available in this draft. He's got a good attitude. He's ready to play, and I think at this point in the draft, you're getting a small college kid with a lot of desire and a lot of raw strength.
And when we talk about the possibility of a draft coming a little bit earlier, and that talk has been floated out there, there are players like Chris who get into the combine and can't afford to blow off the combine. They need to come and make their name, and obviously Chris Valerio not only has made a name, but has made a significant impact taken here in round 5 of this draft by the Chicago Bears. The Bills have just selected. Baltimore is next on the clock as we continue from New York all over America and at the ESPN World Headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut. Guys doing a great job up there. Keep it up.
Roll your brake.
Here it is, right there. You've busted your back, you've nearly drowned yourself, and your car wash is still hit or miss. Next time, use a Shawala. A Shawala wash is the fastest, easiest, most thorough car wash there is. The giant washing surface cleans your entire car in no time, with the same type of material used in professional brushless car washes. So tough, it's virtually indestructible. The multiple layers follow any contour. And look, it would take all these ordinary sponges to equal the surface washing area of one Shawala. Nothing can hold more soap. Have a van? Then you've got to have a Shawala. No climbing, no straining. The extra long handle reaches even the highest vehicle. Cleans wheels and tires in seconds. Don't settle for cheap imitations. The genuine Shawala is only $19.95, so order yours now.
Call toll-free 1-800-701-3100. That's 1-800-701-3100. Or send $19.95 plus shipping and handling to Shawala, 2 Morgan Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut.
How do you keep up with everything that happens in the NHL every day? You keep your eye on us. NHL Tonight, the ultimate half-hour wrap-up of the day that was the NHL. Tuesday through Saturday at 11:30 or after the game, only on ESPN2.
Certainly not as many people here today for day 2 of the draft as there were for day 1. That's because they're all home watching. So how you doing? As we continue with our live coverage of day 2 of the draft, we bring in Sal Paolantonio from Baltimore, who can update us as a trade has just been made involving the Ravens. Sal Pal.
Michael, the Ravens have taken Jermaine Lewis. They needed a kick returner. He's a local guy from the University of Maryland. This is Art Modell, again trying to build ties with the local community. His first choice, Jonathan Ogden from the Washington, D.C. area. His second pick in the 5th round, they traded it away. That was, I believe, number 157 to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th rounder in 1997. Now back to you in New York, Michael.
All right, Sal, thank you. And financial problems have not fully left Art Modell. You heard a report yesterday that Art Modell has needed some loans as well just to get in position for operating costs down in Baltimore. As we get a look at their selections, Mel, Ogden and Lewis, we broke down yesterday a little bit more on Deron Jenkins, the 2nd-round cornerback out of Tennessee.
That pick kind of surprised me. I thought they may go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar since they need a running back, and Ted Marchirota really believes in the running game. And, of course, the Ravens are lacking in that area in terms of talent. Barr, of course, went a little later to the Miami Dolphins, Jimmy Johnson. And, of course, Ray Mickens was the cornerback that became kind of a hot property once we got into that area of the 3rd or 4th round, ended up going to the New York Jets. So that pick, I thought, to trade up and give up all those selections was questionable in my mind.
Jacksonville really wanted Mickens and was disappointed when they found out that the Jets selected him 1 slot ahead in round 3, and then they went to Aaron Beasley, the DB out of West Virginia. Sterling, the Baltimore Ravens, here's a franchise that was all confused in their moving process. Now a new coach comes in on top of that. I mean, this is going to be the mini camp of all mini camps. Let's all meet each other and find out where we are and who we are.
It's a coach, Mike, that comes in that's well-liked throughout the NFL, and these guys are going to get a chance to work for a guy who, basically, if you do your job, he leaves you alone. He's well-liked not only by the players he coached way back when he was with the Baltimore Colts. This guy really gets it done. If you go out and do your job, you're successful, he doesn't have a problem with you. That's wonderful.
Ted Marchibroda's success last year in Indianapolis was a feel-good thing, and to see him go back to Baltimore and maybe complete his career there is a plus as well. Mel, you live down in that area. The reception for this team will be very positive because they're glad to get football back. but the realities still are there in terms of the financial implications of this. There's going to be a couple of years until that PSL money of the new stadium starts rolling in. So this could be a very difficult couple of years to deal with from a maneuverability standpoint.
Well, it's been certainly a trying time for Art Modell and David Modell to get everything together very quickly. You had a free agency process which was ongoing. You had the draft coming up. They had to get a facility which they haven't landed yet. You have to get a training facility which will be built and will be ready in 2 years. Memorial Stadium is where they will play for 2 years before they move into the new stadium down near Camden Yards at the Harbor. So I think, you know, right now it's just get through this process, get the name which they have, the Ravens, get the logo, get the uniforms, and they'll have that announcement in several weeks. But I think the key right now is just to solidify the personnel in this football team, have a good draft. They have some extra choices, and I think, you know, Ozzie Newsome, if he does that, of course, Ted handled the first round, and he handled, I thought, very well, getting Ogden and Lewis. Then they had the good base. I mean, this was a team that going into last year, everybody thought had a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Now, you made a point to me this morning that I think we should remind everybody about. We thought that, you know, the Cleveland records would go in the record, at least I thought, like the Baltimore record book would have the Cleveland records. They will not be in the specific record book. This is almost like an expansion franchise with a limited history starting in Baltimore with the Ravens. Art Modell is scheduled to join us a little bit later on, so we look forward to asking him about the Baltimore situation. To Miami and Chris Mortensen.
Well, here I am with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, they said you wouldn't have a lot of ammunition, but somehow you picked up some bullets along the way.
Well, we were able to get some picks there in the 4th and 5th round, and we were able to take some players that we had targeted here the last week or so. Some guys to help us in the backfield with a fullback and a couple of running backs, a third down back, a defensive lineman, a couple of linebackers that can help our special teams. And so we feel pretty good about what we've been able to do today.
Yeah, potpourri of guys. Why don't we take a look at the list? You can run through each guy for us here. Take it right here.
Well, of course, Daryl Gardner, right off the bat, you know, we think that he can be an impact player. Dorian Brew is an outstanding cover corner, and we need that. Jabbar was just a great player that was available there in the 3rd round. We said, hey, he can be an every down back for our offense. Kurt Porter, another outstanding cover corner. He had a bunch of interceptions there at Austin Peay. And then Pritchett is a player that we started to take yesterday. We worked him out a couple of weeks ago, 240 pounds. He ran in a 4.5. You know, I think he can really help us, and he can be a receiver out of the backfield as a fullback and be the blocker that we're looking for. LaCurtis Jones made 1 million tackles at Baylor, and really just an outstanding individual as far as special teams. I think he can help us there. Jarris McPhail, we didn't think that we'd be able to pick him up. He's a 3rd down back. He played wide receiver for a couple of years. They moved him in the backfield. He can catch the football coming out of the backfield, 40-inch vertical jump, an outstanding athlete, 200-pounder. Shane Burton is a defensive lineman, and we're going to work him into the defensive line. He did a good job there at Tennessee, but if it doesn't work out there, we could put him on offense. He's a 300-pounder that can really run. Then Zach Thomas is a player that is really one of those overachievers. He's a very intelligent player. He loves the game. He can help us at linebacker and, without question, help us on special teams.
Jimmy, what is the key to picking in the late rounds? Is it an art form?
Well, I think you have to pick players who are going to fit into your system and players that have a little special quality about them. It might be a special quality as far as speed. It might be a special quality as far as, you know, helping you on teams to where they can find them their niche until they were, you know, getting out on the field. You know, we looked at, you know, for instance, everybody's talking about Leon Lett. Leon Lett didn't play much for the first year or two, and then all of a sudden now he's an outstanding defensive lineman in the league. So it takes some of these players a while, and you've got to find them a little spot, you know, to work into the lineup until that time.
How many of these guys, when you're done today, do you think will stick with this team?
Well, you know, hopefully we can get 4 or 5 players out of this group and that can really make a contribution, maybe a couple of starters by midseason. And without question, there's going to be some of these players that we're going to roll into the lineup. And I know Mike Westhoff, our special teams coach, he's got the biggest smile of anybody on our staff right now.
I reported earlier about Dan Marino should get a deal done in the next week. 3 years, that's what surprises people. Not as salary cap friendly as a John Elway contract. Why not?
Well, we wanted to do, you know, what was right for Dan. He's done a great job here, you know, with the Dolphins. I think he's going to be a very productive quarterback. You know, we feel like that, you know, he can play at least 3 more years. Hopefully, if we run the football, 4 and 5 more years. And what we'll be looking at doing is doing another, you know, contract with Dan as he gets toward the end of his career, so he can be here for a long time. Right now, we're looking at doing a 3-year contract, but we'll have more to say about that later on.
And Jimmy, we have been monitoring you in the draft room. Looks like you're having a good time. In fact, you were holding up a picture, I think, when you took Burton. What were you doing there?
Well, I said, you know, big guy from Tennessee. He's going to probably come in here in his pickup truck ready to play football.
And big on the nachos today, by the way. You didn't bring any by here.
Well, you know, I've got to have a little bit of food, you know, just to kind of keep up my pace.
All right, let's go on to Chris Fowler.
Howard, thank you very much. As we get a look at the war room inside there, that's the Dallas war room. Different systems, Mike Lombardi, of building teams. Jimmy Johnson has a system. You worked under Bill Walsh, 49ers.